king, baby.
Better late than never, as they say. I received a copy of Eclipsium by Critical Reflex prior to its release, but this video is coming out quite a bit after its release. Eclipsium is a abstract, psychological, horror-adjacent, first-person adventure game that is of the walking sim ilk, if that makes it easier for you to quite understand what it is. It is a throwback to old-school adventure games like Myst. It reminds me a lot of ShhKotsky, a game that I've covered in the past and I will link in this video. It's very interesting. It's a relatively short game, but I ended up putting almost 5 hours into the game. Right when you think it's going to end, it actually keeps going. I don't think the game really drags on. It does have some parts where it goes on for a little bit, and sometimes it's maybe just because you're missing the point or you're missing what it is that you're supposed to be looking at or understanding. The draw of this game is the abstract design and the very odd psychological abstract way that it tells this story. Really, I rolled credits and really can't understand quite. I think maybe it involves something to do with someone being sick or reuniting with somebody else in the afterlife. You get some kind of flashbacks to someone in a hospital, and there's a lot of hospital imagery that you keep coming back to. So there's a lot that can kind of be pieced together there. The kind of face of the game, this woman in a hood, is someone who shows up a lot. There are puzzles, and everything's fairly straightforward. You know, walking around and getting a pail to put into a well to get some water, to throw out a fire, to get some keys, to open a door and go on and do this thing. And there's segments of like these weird little kind of leech things that are afraid of light. And then when you get later in the game, they pop up, but you know, if you weren't paying attention to that fact, when you have this ability to turn your hand on fire, you have to use that to then make them move out of your way. In the same way that you have to use all the other abilities to get through things, find secrets, and progress throughout the game by remembering what these things do. Now, there has been a couple times where I kind of got lost where I was going, even though the game is fairly linear and very straightforward. I actually even ended up completely walking out of the play space and went all the way around a invisible barrier. Basically, it's like a barrier on a hill that you can't climb up, but I went through this one area off to the side and completely went around, and then I tried to jump down, but I couldn't because I was on the other side of the wall, and I thought that was kind of entertaining. I think mechanically the game is pretty dull, pretty boring in the sense of there's not a lot going on mechanically. There's not a lot going on as far as the gameplay loop itself. It is a cool game. It is an interesting and intriguing game that I can't entirely say is worth $13. I mean, after nearly 5 hours, that's a pretty good playtime, and, you know, for all accounts, I think that it would be worth that, but I think it just comes down to the individual. Would I have paid that much for this game if I wasn't given a code? I don't think I would have, just because I don't think that it's a case of the original Little Nightmares being like $20 and it having only like 3 hours of gameplay, but there's a lot of variety in the gameplay. Also, there's collectibles and reasons for you to go back. No, I'm Not a Human is around the same price, and Mouthwashing is around the same price. Both of those games offer up a lot more as far as replayability, endings, and the moment to moment. That doesn't mean that I'm trying to lessen what you have here, because I think that, like I said, the visuals, the abstract nature of everything, the way the story is being told, the puzzles, and the old school adventure game aspect of it all is awesome, and that is the draw of this game. That is the best aspect of this game. I think its PS1 aesthetic and it looking like you're playing a classic abstract painting in real time is really cool. What they do with perspective and even some viewfinder-esque, like jumping through paintings and taking paintings into other paintings and just like some crazy stuff, kind of like the way you do with Cocoon when you're taking all the orbs into the other orb and into the other orb. And it's cool, it really is, and there's a lot of cool imagery, a lot of just awesome things visually. So many things to make you wonder and be like, what's going on? Like, this is so cool. And I think that 100% the game is worth it on a sale. I think the game's worth anywhere between $5 and $10. And honestly, depending on you, the individual, and whether you like these kind of games, I think $13 is worth it. But at the same time, and you look at games like No, I'm Not a Human or Mouthwashing that have a little bit longer of a gameplay loop, a little bit more variety, and a lot more endings and variability in things, I think it just comes down to a personal taste. I don't think that there's anything inherently wrong with the game. I don't think that it does anything wrong. I don't think it does anything poorly. I think a little bit more gameplay variety would be really cool, which is something that I said with No, I'm Not a Human as well. You know, I think that it is a longer game than something like Karimara was, which is good. But Karimara is also like only $5. You know, it just comes down to personal taste at the end of the day. I think that, much like what I said with Karimara, like what I said with No, I'm Not a Human, I think that this game, like those two games, is a great base for what they can do next. I mean, if you take what Eclipsium has right now and you expand it into a bigger game, a little bit more crazy mechanically, do some like Portal-like stuff, or maybe even a little bit further into that Myst direction, or some other cool things like that, and just messing with that abstract design even further, oh man, I think that it would be really cool, because I already think that, oddly enough, even without no relation between these two developers of these two games, Eclipsium perfectly exemplified the best elements of Eschaton. Actually took that idea and kind of further developed on it, and if they could just do that again, even though these aren't the same people, two different games, two different developers, but they're so similar in my mind, that if you just do more, that's awesome. And I think those other two games can do the same thing. I think, oddly, The Outer Worlds is a cool example of this, right? The Outer Worlds may not be a perfect game, may not be the best RPG ever made, but it was a bite-sized RPG that did a lot of cool things and created a foundation of what they wanted to do with a lot of constraints. Now with The Outer Worlds 2, it seems like they kind of fully developed on the original vision. And I think that Eclipsium can really take all the great elements of the visuals, the moment-to-moment, the adventure and everything, and just they expand on it and just add cooler puzzles, a bit more story, some voice acting, and I'll gladly lend my voice if you ever want that. Housefire Games, just let me know. Overall, I think it's a really cool game. I would highly recommend the game. I would just say, depending on you, the individual, if you like walking sim games and such, maybe buy it for the price. But if you're wanting a little bit more bang for your buck, maybe wait for a sale. I don't think it should really be much more than $10. That's just my personal opinion. I think having collectibles and things like that really add to replayability and is worth that like extra $2 or $3. As far as I'm aware, Eclipsium doesn't have collectibles or any reason to replay it after finishing it. If they ever added some collectibles or little extra things, then I think it would be worth the extra like $3. But right now, I don't really think that it's worth $13. I think it's more worth $10. Like I said, nothing against the game. The game is awesome. I highly recommend it. It's super fun, super cool. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you check out the game. I hope you like what you see. And I think there's a lot of fun to be had with this game. And I think that it's a really cool experience that may not be something that's inherently fun to play, but it's fun to experience and to be along for the very, very, very weird and interesting ride that it is. Just base it around what you like, what you're looking for. Maybe grab it on a sale, or if you're, feeling like this is something that you really like and you want to really dive into it, go buy it full price. It's really up to you. At the end of the day, I'd like to thank Midnight Medium, Osh, Melancholy Geek, as always, for the continued patronage, love, and support. And I'll see you all next time. The Forge is calling, and as you know, I must answer. So I'll see you all when the next video has been forged. Goodbye.